Eli, of course, there are some pretty classic cannabis films that come to mind, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you could come up with your own list, many of you out there, but we have to start with basically like the cinematic mascot of pot. I am talking about the Coen brothers classic, The Big Lebowski. You know, interesting thing about this movie, I didn't love it the first time, but it is the kind of thing that grows on you, and I think a big part of it is Jeff Bridges as the classic laconic stoner. It's not just a movie, it's an attitude. The dude abides. Now, teens and drug culture are longtime favorites. We could talk about Harold and Kumar going to White Castle. Seth Rogen has a whole oeuvre of films, including Pineapple Express, but we have to show some love to Dazed and Confused. The time was 1976. We are in Texas. This is from director Richard Linklater. You will see Matthew McConaughey, and you see teens doing what they're going to do. In fact, the slogan of the film was, "See it with a bud." Finally, there's a great documentary from a Canadian director named actually Ron Mann, and the documentary is called, appropriately, Grass, narrated by pot advocate Woody Harrelson himself. This takes a look at reefer madness. This takes a look at the public anxiety over pot over the years, looking at the billions of dollars spent on the war in drugs, but with that great archival footage, kind of in a fun way, looking at both the war on drugs and the puritanical attitude of the authorities that were trying to prosecute that war and that mouse falling over.
Okay, so those are some of the more obvious choices, but I understand you have some alternative selections.
Yeah, now to be clear, I'm not personally recommending taking anything, ingesting anything, smoking anything. I'm more of a cocktails guy myself, but I've given you a list of movies with their own mood-altering qualities, no drugs necessarily required, beginning with one of my all-time favorites. It is called Baraka. This is a meditative experience about our place in the world, about spirituality, about the human condition. This is truly cinema as a drug, but it's more of a mellow ride, just gorgeous, luminous images. Speaking about amazing images and a very different kind of ride, let's take a look at another movie from Richard Linklater, and that is Waking Life. This is a different kind of trip. It's a philosophical investigation of our place in life and the universe and really reality itself, but the way they actually do that is by animating the conversations in a style that I think you could safely call trippy. Then let's move on to American Ultra, a weird little gem from 2015. Imagine if Jason Bourne liked to hit the bong, and this is the film that you get. Jesse Eisenberg stars in this with Kristen Stewart. It is a very funny action comedy about pot, guns, and a CIA conspiracy. What's not to love? Now, let's move on to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and one of the patron saints of excess and indulging. I'm speaking of Hunter S. Thompson, and this is director Terry S. Gilliam's adaptation of the classic road story, of course, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. As you can see, starring Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Gilliam is the director. Somehow I think he'd support the legalization in Canada today. This movie is a trip that is twisted, but darkly so, so be warned. And finally, another of my favorite all-time films from Jean-Marc Vallée, Café de Flore. This is another movie with mind-altering properties from the guy who's given us Sharp Objects and Big Little Lies. This masterpiece has two parallel storylines about love and cosmic connection. Every frame, because it's Vallée, pulsates with emotion. Now, again, I'm not recommending any behavior, but if you asked me one of my greatest cinematic highs, it would be that movie.